My name's Calvi-Parisetti. If that sounds Italian to you, you're right. If you think my accent sounds Scottish, you're also right. I call myself an Italian from Glasgow, as this captures both my origins and where I feel I belong. I'm a medical doctor and university professor. I'm also a trained psychotherapist and grief counsellor. At the beginning of my career, I worked for the International Red Cross and for the United Nations. I served in countries ravaged by war and natural disasters, and I witnessed death and human suffering to a disturbing scale. I then moved from the field to the classroom, teaching graduate and doctoral students at 3 major universities. For many years now, I've been studying and researching the transition we call death, and this is what brings me to talking to you here. If you're afraid of death or in pain over the loss of a loved one, please follow me with attention. My studies have taught me things that you may want to know. I reckon that, to this day, I have read more than 30,000 pages of literature on the huge subject of psychical research. I went to conferences, study days, I interviewed the researchers, and I even trained personally with one of my intellectual heroes, Dr. Raymond Moody in the United States. Much to my surprise, astonishment I would say, through these studies I discovered that there is colossal evidence coming from a dozen different fields of investigation, pointing to the fact that, hold yourself tight, our physical bodies die, but we don't. Evidence tells us that in a way which we do not yet understand, what we call ourselves, our mind, our consciousness, our personality, goes on living after the death of the physical body. Perhaps you're a religious person and the idea of life after life sounds natural to you. Well, I approached the subject from a rational, scientific point of view, and the idea made absolutely no sense to me. But then my reason had to surrender under the sheer weight of the evidence. In 2008, I decided to write my own book called 21 Days into the Afterlife. I systematically presented the evidence I had come across, just as I would have done in my university classroom. This was to become a bit of a worldwide success, drawing very positive reviews and being translated into several languages. As a man of science, I'm now convinced that based on the evidence, a rational person can believe in life after life. Our mind, our consciousness, our personality indeed appear to survive physical death. And there are quite a few other people of reason and of science who have arrived at the same conclusions. Now, as a doctor, I want to be of practical help. I want to heal. I want the knowledge I have acquired to benefit people who are suffering. In particular, I would like to help those who have a fear of death, either because they are facing death themselves or because they are confronted with the imminent death of a loved one. And naturally, I would like to heal those who are in pain because they have lost a loved one. Medical research, as well as many letters from the readers of my book, tell me that what I know can help. Knowledge and understanding can transform the fear of death and heal the pain of a loss. Let me briefly explain. Through my studies and my experience, I have learned that there is a part of the pain connected with death and the process of dying that is quite simply unavoidable. That's an integral part of our experience as human beings, and there's no therapy, no belief, no understanding that can take that away. I cannot do anything for that. But there is another part that can be avoided. I'm speaking about the fear, the anguish of simply ceasing to exist. And I'm speaking of that ultimate pain that comes from thinking that the people we loved and who have passed away have just disappeared into some black nothingness. This finality of death is simply not consistent with the evidence we have. Evidence which was collected for 150 years by some of the brightest scientific minds of the planet, including as many as 4 Nobel Prize winners. But you have to understand that there is no shortcut. It is not enough for me to tell you like this. It is not enough for you to read an introductory book. You have to study, consider the evidence yourself. You have to think, to reflect on what you have learned. You have to invest the time and energy. Only in this way you can actually transform the fear of death and heal the pain of a loss. Medical research shows that dramatic benefits can be had in reducing the fear of death and alleviating the pain of a loss by studying and considering the evidence for life after life. But medical research also tells us that these benefits are proportional to the time and effort. The greater the time and the effort, the greater the benefits. And here is where I believe I can really help. Teaching has been part of my job for 15 years. I know that I'm good at it. Let me teach you about life after life. I have produced an 8-hour adult education course of academic level, but delivered in a manner that makes it easy to follow by anybody. The course is divided in some 30 video modules, each one lasting between 10 minutes and half an hour, including lessons and assignments. In each module, I introduce a particular area of evidence for life after life, explain why it is important, and discuss possible alternative explanations. The modules also include brief interviews with the leading researchers and other important video footage. The assignments consist of carefully selected sections from some of the best documentaries produced during the last 20 years. The course is both highly informative and easy to follow. But make no mistake, this is no daytime television. It's a very serious thing, one that has to be taken seriously. It requires time and effort and commitment. But the results can be on par with, and possibly even superior to traditional psychotherapy and counseling approaches. Let me summarize then. Based on the evidence, a rational person can believe in the afterlife. By studying and considering the evidence, one can understand that death is not the end. Our mind, our personality, our consciousness go on existing following the death of the physical body. This is not a matter of faith or wishful thinking. This is a description of how things work according to the available evidence. The knowledge and in-depth understanding of these facts can have a dramatic effect in transforming the fear of death and healing the pain of a loss. These effects are proportional to the time and effort one puts into the study. This adult education course is offered as a key resource to that goal.